Let me show you how to sketch a pencil portrait of a couple freehand. And that's based on a commission portrait I did not too long ago of a couple that I know. Well, I know the woman, and she wanted me to do a portrait of her and her husband. But you start out just basically blocking in the forms, getting the outlines, filling up the composition. And once you do that, getting in the outlines of the shape of the head and the face, then you begin to fill in the forms of the eyes. You just kind of block in the features pretty simply. I don't want to get too complicated because I want to make sure that before I invest a lot of time into the detail, that I'm positioning the features accurately within the space. Follow up with the concentric eyelid folds, nasolabial folds, that's otherwise known as the laugh lines, and getting the wrinkles around the mouth, getting in the shape of the gum line. And you actually use the shape of the gum line to suggest the teeth. And now I'm starting to fill in some darker forms for the eyes now that I have her face sketched. I haven't filled in any features for the man yet because I don't want to smear them with my hand. So I generally, of course, being right-handed, I work from left to right. And now I'm getting in some of the accessory jugal folds that attach to the chin. And then following up with getting more facial features on the rest of the face. So now we're going to block in some of the forms of the lips, get in some shading using a couple different pencils. I start off using usually like a 2H pencil for the blocking in of the forms, and then I'll continue on with a 2B and an 8B for the darker values. I use a white eraser that I just stick on the end of the pencil to basically allow me to erase, because I do make a lot of mistakes when I sketch. Okay, so after you fill in these basic forms, you're filling in the shading, starting with the darkest values using an 8B lead, and then using 2B for the midtones. And an 8B is a really dark lead, so you don't have to press that hard to get the darker values. If you only use 2B, your number 2 standard pencil, you really have to push hard to get the darker values, and you'll never quite achieve them as much as you can by getting a whole set of pencils. You don't have to invest a ton of money in a set of pencils, just get maybe 3 to 5 different leads, and ranging from 2H, HB, 2B, maybe 3B and 8B, and you'll be fine. I'm filling in some forms of the hair right now and just kind of blocking in the major strokes of the hair. Now putting in some shading around her eyes, filling in some of the midtones with the 2B lead. And then I'll be transitioning to getting some of the shading inside the face, allowing the cheeks to stand out by darkening the chin and the jawline. And then we continue on and fill in some shading for the lips and the gum line. And now I'm blocking in the lower part of her hair, and as it works into her dress, getting in some of the darker values around the eyes. Again, it takes many layers to make it happen, and you don't want to draw the lines in simply. You want to really see according to your reference photo. Study your reference photo and notice where you have darker values within the eye fold creases, within the hair. Try to simplify the forms of the values. And Now we're going to block in a little more shading around the inside of the hair and getting some nuances. Now that I have her face done pretty nicely, I'm working on her husband and following the same process of just getting in a simplified sense of his facial features. Now you might have noticed me sticking that piece of paper over my Kindle, over my tablet, and I was just kind of measuring the facial features and seeing if they lined up. I don't use a proportional divider. I don't use a grid, so basically I'm just relying on just seeing everything visually and lining it up, and occasionally I'll measure using the edge of the paper just to make sure everything is looking accurate. And now again I'm measuring the features because I was just a little bit concerned that I had everything accurate here. I'm using a mechanical pencil to get some of the fine details in. Occasionally I'll do that, and that's a number 2 lead, and that can give you a little more precision than using a pencil that you would sharpen. It's a good idea to invest in a nice pencil sharpener. I use an X-Acto brand for that, and that really works well. Again, I'm trying to really dial in his facial features, getting in all the different forms here. They're erasing a little bit just to make sure it's all accurate. And now putting in a little bit of shading for his hair. And now that I'm confident I have his facial features lined up, I'm blocking in major areas of value in his hair and darkening around his eyes. So again, we start out very light using a HB or 2H or even number 2 pencil, but then we follow up using an 8B lead to really get the dark values dialed in. And if you can get those dark values dialed in under the eyelid folds, around the tear ducts, nasolabial folds, nostrils, under the lips, under the teeth, all of those areas that are quite dark, it gives you that freedom then to go ahead and put in some of the mid-tones, which would be, again, your 2B lead or even 2H or HB. And you can also, get a lighter sense of shading and gradation by using less pressure too. I'll use some cross hatching as well to get some darker tones, and that's where you do your pencil strokes very tight in one direction, and then you follow up going perpendicular to that in the other direction. I'm wanting to fill in some shading to sculpt the bone structure of his forehead, the temple. The earlobes are important. We don't want to neglect that. That's an often neglected area. But you want to make sure you get the structure of the ear accurately. And because this isn't color, I have to use value to show, his beard. Now I'm filling in the form of his boutonniere, which I just erased because I found out it wasn't the right size or the right height on his suit. You want it, and I erased it again. So you can see sometimes you just have to stick with it until you get it right. Oh, and I was reading my Bible during my break for a little bit there, so that somehow made it in the video. Now we're going to be shading that whole area in, and we're shading around the cheekbones, nasolabial fold, and that's so important to capture the smile, to really get the proper shape of those laugh lines and to show the form around it. I can't emphasize that enough. The smile is really captured with the nasolabial folds. Now we're shading in some more areas on the suit and some other areas below. And going to be filling in the area where the woman intersects with him, where we have her arm and shoulder overlapping his suit. And that's an important juxtaposition and overlapping area of those two edges to get that right, showing the shadow being cast from her body onto his. That's very important. Now, I'm not trying to draw this photographically. This is a sketch, and that's how I had it billed for the client. So it still retains quite a bit of the pencil quality. I have done some photorealistic drawings, but this is more of a sketch that I'm trying to do. And it's a fun process doing it freehand, and it really develops your skills. It's getting close to being done at this stage. I'm just dialing in a few nuances, using my mechanical pencil to do that, and then we sign it and call it done. Well, I want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and if you'd like to see more of my work, you can go to realisticacrylic.com. Even though this is a pencil sketch, it is very important to learn how to draw when you're trying to paint portraits. It'll help you quite a bit. So go to realisticacrylic.com and you can learn more about painting portraits and even a little bit about drawing as well. Thanks for watching. God bless. Like, subscribe, share this video, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.